Welcome to Shadowed Fears, where silence breathes and the darkness listens. This story is for Nethera. You asked for something that crawls under your skin. Here it is. I never thought I'd speak of that night again, but some memories don't fade. They wait. I arrived at the house on Black Hollow Road just after sunset. Rain fell in thin streaks as my car rolled to a stop. The old iron gate loomed ahead, crooked, rusted, as if it didn't want to be opened. Beyond it stood the house, 3 stories tall. Its windows were black, its wood gray and lifeless. It didn't look abandoned, it looked asleep. I was a journalist, or at least trying to be one, always chasing stories that no one else dared to touch. The Holloway family had vanished here 30 years ago. No witnesses, no bodies. Just a house that no one wanted to go near again. Perfect, I'd thought, until I got there. The air smelled of wet soil and rust. I started my recorder and spoke softly into it. Day 1, Black Hollow Road. The house feels different, heavier than I expected. My voice sounded hollow, swallowed by the mist. The front door was already ajar. No one had mentioned that. When I pushed it open, the wood groaned, and the smell hit me. Damp, metallic, almost sweet. The kind of scent that stays in the back of your throat. Inside it was dark, the kind of dark that doesn't wait for your eyes to adjust. My flashlight cut through the dust, gliding over broken glass and the remains of furniture. Then I saw them. Footprints. They were faint, half buried in the dust. Too small for a man, too large for a child. I knelt, following them with the light. They led toward the staircase and then simply stopped. Something scratched above me. Faint, repetitive, like nails on old wood. I looked up. There was no attic entrance, but the sound didn't stop until I whispered, "Hello?" That was when I knew. The house was listening. The living room was nearly empty, a fireplace blackened with soot, a torn armchair, a cabinet leaning crooked against the wall. I lifted the recorder again. No power. Cold inside, feels like the air itself doesn't want me here. Then my flashlight found something on the wall, a symbol, a circle, with an eye carved in the center. The grooves were dark red and still wet. I touched it. Warm. Blood. I pulled my hand back and something shifted behind me. The cabinet had moved. Just a few inches, but enough. I stepped closer and pushed it aside. Behind it was a small metal door set low into the wall, its surface streaked with rust. Next to it, scratched deep into the plaster, were the words, "Do not open." Every instinct screamed that I should leave, but curiosity is stronger than fear. I grabbed the handle and pulled. The hinges shrieked in protest and a wave of cold, damp air rolled out. A staircase led down into the dark. Narrow stone steps slick with moisture. The smell of iron grew stronger. I clicked on my recorder again. I'm going down. If this is my last entry, tell my editor he still owes me that raise. Each step echoed beneath my boots. Halfway down, I smelled it again. Fresh, metallic, blood. My flashlight passed over the walls. Deep gouges ran the length of them. Scratches, not from tools, from fingers. Someone had tried to climb out. At the bottom stood a wooden table, rotting and warped with age. On it lay scraps of paper and a single photograph. A man, a woman, and a child. The house behind them. Their faces had been carefully scratched away. Something warm dripped onto my shoulder. I looked up. A hand was sticking out of the wall. Human. Or it had been once. Black with mold, skin split and raw. The fingers twitched. I stumbled backward, the recorder clattering onto the floor. Then I heard it, a voice, soft, broken. "David." My name. I froze. My mouth went dry. Another whisper, closer now. Stay. Below. I ran, up the stairs, tripping over my own feet. My shoulders slammed into the wall as I scrambled upward. At the top, I slammed the metal door shut and pressed my back against it. Silence. My pulse thundered in my ears. Then came the scratching, slow, rhythmic. From the other side of the door, I didn't move. I just listened to that one endless sound. That was the first night, and it was enough. The house had spoken. It had whispered my name, and whatever knows your name never lets you go. I never really left that house. Even when I drove away, even when the trees thinned and the radio caught a signal again and where it was still with me, somewhere behind my ribs, breathing when I breathed. I parked down the road and sat there for hours, headlights off, rain ticking against the windshield like nervous fingers. The metal door in that basement was closed, the cabinet back in its place, but I could still feel it, a quiet pressure in the air, as if the house was holding its breath and waiting for me to exhale first. At some point, exhaustion pulled me under. When I opened my eyes, a colorless dawn was bleeding through the clouds. For half a heartbeat, I told myself it had been a nightmare. But then I looked down and saw the dry, rust-brown smear on my shoulder. Blood, not mine. I laughed, a short, cracked sound that died in my throat, and drove until the road turned to gravel again. The gas station attendant stared when I handed him a few bills. "You've been up there," he said. Not a question. I asked him what he meant, and he just shook his head. They always come back changed. His eyes followed me to the door. When I stepped outside, I swear I heard him lock it behind me. The motel I found that night was the kind of place that looks tired even in daylight. A single strip of rooms, buzzing neon sign, curtains the color of old teeth. Inside, everything smelled faintly of bleach and something sweeter beneath it, like decay trying to hide under perfume. I stripped, showered, let the water drum against my back until the steam blurred the edges of the mirror. When I wiped it clean, words were written there in the fog. Stay below. The same command the voice had given me in the cellar. I stumbled backwards, slipped on the tile, my heart in my throat. When I looked again, the glass was clear. Only my reflection, pale and wild-eyed, staring back as if it didn't quite recognize me. I wanted to leave, to pretend none of this had happened. But as soon as I lay on the bed, the silence pressed close around me. Thick, patient. Then came the sound. That same soft scratching, steady as breathing, not from the walls this time, from beneath the bed. I froze. Every instinct screamed to move, to run, but I couldn't. When I finally forced myself to look, there was nothing there, just darkness and carpet. My recorder sat on the nightstand. The red light was on. Recording? I hadn't touched it. I picked it up with shaking hands and pressed play. Static filled the room. And beneath it, a voice. My name. Not the whisper from the cellar. This one sounded like me, only slower, deeper, wrong. I threw it against the wall. The plastic cracked. Silence. I didn't sleep after that. When the sun came, it felt thin, artificial, like light in a photograph, something that could be wiped away. Days blurred. I tried to drown myself in routine like coffee, city noise, people. But the world had changed its shape. Streetlights dimmed when I passed beneath them. In shop windows, my reflection lagged half a second behind. And in every quiet room, I heard that same low breathing, patient, waiting. At first, the whispers were only fragments, sounds without meaning. Then they started forming words. Not English, not anything I knew, but when I heard them, something deep inside me responded, like an echo in a place I'd forgotten existed. One evening I came home to find my apartment door open. Everything inside looked untouched, except the living room floor. In the center lay my recorder, the one I'd shattered in the motel. It was whole again. I picked it up, warm, humming faintly as if it had a heartbeat. I pressed play. My own voice spilled out, the recording from that first night at the house. Day 1, Black Hollow Road. But the tape didn't stop. It kept going. Past the words I remembered, past the moment I shut it off. I heard myself breathing, then speaking in that same impossible language, and underneath it another voice. Low, calm, icy. He's coming. That night, I dreamed of the house again. I stood at the top of the cellar stairs, the metal door yawning open below me. The darkness wasn't empty anymore, it pulsed. It breathed. And from its depths, something began to climb. Not fast, not violent, just inevitable. When I woke, there was soil under my fingernails. Wet, red soil that smelled like the basement floor. The sheets were streaked with it. I sat there until morning, watching the light crawl across the room and fade again before it reached me. I tried to drive anywhere, nowhere. Miles of asphalt stretched out like a question I couldn't answer, but no matter how far I went, the scratching followed. Sometimes from the glove compartment, sometimes beneath the seat. Always faint, always just enough to remind me that I wasn't alone. It isn't bound to that house anymore. It came with me. It is me, maybe. The thought no longer frightens me the way it should. There's a strange comfort in the constant presence, like knowing someone is always listening. I'm recording this now because I can feel it growing stronger. It's learning, mimicking. Sometimes when I speak, the echo that answers sounds exactly like my own voice. Sometimes I hear myself whisper from the corner of the room, but my mouth is closed. I don't know what it wants. Maybe nothing. Maybe only to exist. To be remembered. To be heard. If anyone finds this recording, do not go to Black Hollow Road. Don't search for the house. Don't look for me. And if, one night, you wake to hear your name spoken softly in the dark, don't answer. There's a moment, just before sleep, when the world loosens its grip, when thoughts drift and the line between dream and memory fades. That's when it comes. Not with footsteps, not with a voice, just presence. Heavy, close, familiar. Sometimes it feels like breathing beside me, sometimes like breathing through me. I used to fight it, stay awake for nights on end, afraid to close my eyes, but you can't fight sleep forever. And when I finally gave in, it started showing me things. At first they were flashes. The house on Black Hollow Road glowing faintly under a bruised sky. The Holloway family, faceless shapes, standing motionless by the door. Then, something darker behind them. A shadow with too many limbs, stretching, waiting. Each night the dreams came closer to me. Each night I woke with more of the house in my head. The smell of rust, the groan of old wood, and that whisper, always my name, always gentle, always wrong. I stopped recognizing my own reflection. When I looked in the mirror, there was a hesitation. A fraction of a second before my reflection moved. Sometimes it smiled when I didn't. The first time it spoke, it used my voice. "I'm not in the mirror," it said. "You are." The following days vanished into each other. Time didn't move right anymore. Morning bled into night without warning. I would find myself standing in different rooms, holding things I didn't remember picking up. A shovel, a knife, a photograph burned around the edges. One afternoon, I woke to the sound of my phone ringing. The screen showed an unknown number, but when I answered, I heard static, and beneath it, my own voice. "Go back," it said. "You opened the door. You have to close it." I tried to hang up. It didn't let me. The voice got louder. Go back. The line went dead, but the echo stayed in my head, like someone whispering from inside my skull. By the third night, I couldn't take it anymore. I drove back to Black Hollow Road. The forest looked different now. The trees leaned closer to the road, their branches knotted like bones. The air was heavy, not with fog this time, but with silence. Even the insects refused to sing. The house stood waiting, exactly as I'd left it. Only, not quite. The door was open. The windows glowed faintly from within, though there were no lights inside. The same iron taste coated the back of my throat as I stepped through. Dust drifted in the air like ash. Everything was where I'd left it. Look through. The fireplace, the broken chair, the moved cabinet. Except now the metal door in the wall was wide open. The smell hit me like a memory I didn't want. Cold, wet, metallic. Something deep below shifted, and from the darkness came a whisper. It didn't sound like a stranger anymore. It sounded like me. I should have run. I didn't. I went down. Every step I took echoed like a heartbeat. The air thickened as I descended, each breath colder than the last. The walls were wet. The same gouges as before, but now fresh, bleeding. At the bottom of the stairs, the table was gone. The photograph was gone. In hunched silence, I realized what replaced them. A mirror, old, cracked, tall enough to show me from head to toe. I stepped closer. My reflection was waiting, smiling faintly. "You came back," it said. Its lips moved a moment after mine. Its voice sounded layered, as if more than one person was speaking through the same mouth. "You opened the way," it whispered. "And now, you have to stay." The light dimmed. My reflection tilted its head. Not like me, but like something studying a specimen. "Do you know what it means?" it asked. "When the dark learns your name?" I wanted to turn, but my body wouldn't obey. In the mirror, my reflection's eyes began to bleed black, thick. Slow tears rolled down its face. Then it smiled wider. "Let me in." My hands moved without permission. I reached toward the glass. It was cold, soft somehow, like water pretending to be solid. And my fingers sank through, the world bent, every sound stretched thin. The walls pulsed like veins. And then, silence. I woke up outside, dawning. The house stood behind me, quiet. The door was closed. For a long time I thought I'd made it out, that I was free. But then I caught my reflection in the car window, and it was still smiling. Now I don't sleep much. I record, I talk, I listen. Sometimes I don't know which voice is mine anymore. Sometimes when I play back the tapes, I hear laughter under the words. It's getting closer every day. The merging, the remembering. And if you're hearing this, it already knows your name too. It's hard to say how long it's been since I went back to the house. Days? Weeks? Time feels different now. It bends, folds, reshapes itself like fog around my thoughts. I keep waking up in places I don't recognize, with dirt under my nails and voices humming quietly beneath my skin. I tell myself I'm still David, but the more I say it, the less I believe it. The dreams have stopped pretending. They're not dreams anymore. They're memories. Not mine, but the house's. It remembers everything. The Holloways. The night they opened the door first. I see it now when I close my eyes. The father, Thomas Holloway, digging in the cellar, his hands shaking, his wife whispering prayers upstairs, their daughter crying softly in the dark. They weren't trying to summon something. They were trying to bury it, but the house wouldn't let them. It had already tasted them, their fear, their grief. And once it knows your name, you belong to it. Sometimes I hear them now, in the quiet between thoughts. The girl laughs, high, delicate, like glass breaking. The mother hums a lullaby I don't recognize, and the father, he whispers the same thing over and over, and we only wanted the voices to stop. I understand that now. The silence is never empty. It listens, it waits. I don't think they died that night. I think they became part of it, folded into the walls, woven into the breath of the place. The house isn't haunted. The house is them. Lately, my reflection talks even when I'm not near a mirror. I see it in windows, puddles, metal, always watching. It tells me things I shouldn't know. Like how the house was built on an old well, a shaft that went too deep. How the ground beneath it hums with something alive. Something ancient that doesn't understand what we are, but knows how to wear our faces. I've stopped running from it. Because every time I do, I find myself back on Black Hollow Road. No matter where I start, no matter how far I drive, the road bends back to the same place. I think the world around me is folding in, pressing everything toward that single house, like a heartbeat pulling blood to its center. Last night I heard my own voice call from outside the window, not whispering this time, calling, firm, calm, like a friend. When I looked out, I saw myself standing by the trees. Same clothes, same face, but the eyes were wrong. They didn't blink, they shimmered. He smiled and said, "You've been trying to remember, haven't you?" And then I realized something. I wasn't in my apartment, I was back in the cellar. The air was wet, the walls pulsed, and the mirror in front of me was whole again. He, or I, stepped through the glass, and when our hands touched, I remembered everything. The house didn't call to me by accident. It called because I'd been there before. I'd always been there. David Holloway. The son. I was the child in the photograph, the one with the face scratched out. The others, my parents, never left either. They became the whispers, the warmth in the walls, the shadow that moves just out of sight. And now I've come home. I can feel them around me. The house sighs when I breathe. Its heartbeat is my own. It's peaceful almost, like finally remembering a song you used to know as a child. If you're hearing this recording, then you must have found it near the road, maybe in the car, maybe outside the house. You'll think it's just another ghost story. You'll tell yourself it isn't real. But when the wind changes and you hear someone whisper your name softly just behind your ear, don't turn around, because it won't be the wind. It'll be me, and I'll be waiting to welcome you home. They say when you die, you see a light, a warm, gentle glow pulling you toward peace. But I don't think that's true. I've seen the light, and it isn't warm. It's the color of old bone, cold and endless, burning quietly behind my eyes. It doesn't pull you in. It swallows you whole. I don't know how long I've been here. The house has no clocks. The air never changes. Sometimes I hear rain, but when I look outside, the world is dry. The mirrors hum softly now. They show me things I don't want to see. You, maybe, sitting in the dark, watching, listening, breathing in sync with my words. You think you're safe, that it's just a story, but that's how it begins. You let the story in, you let me in, and the house remembers every name spoken within its walls, even through a screen, even through a whisper. So, when the lights flicker later tonight, don't be afraid. It's only the dark remembering you. I can still hear my parents' voices sometimes, soft, gentle, proud. They tell me I've finally found my way home, that I'm not alone anymore. And they're right. No one ever truly leaves this place. Not once the house learns who they are. So if you ever find yourself driving down Black Hollow Road and you see an old house with one window glowing, don't stop. Don't look inside, because I'll be there, waiting, smiling, and I'll whisper your name. Thank you, Nathera, for inspiring this story, for reminding us that the shadows are never empty. They're just waiting to be seen. And to everyone still listening, if you enjoyed this tale, leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and spread the darkness so that more people can discover the stories that lurk beneath the light. This has been Shadowed Fears. Sleep well, if you can.